Afternoon everyone, my name is Lewis. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all safe and well. Now today I'm going to be continuing the Jazz Carousel episodes, and today I've picked out 3 albums from my collection which I think are worthy of your consideration. So let's start at the very beginning. So today's first choice is a 1979 release by a gentleman called Dwayne Everett, otherwise known as Dewan Mohammed, and the album's entitled Deep Stream. That's a really nice album cover. I really like that. It's kind of like a Rocky Mountains vista with a bird of prey in the corner. Yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah, I quite like that. So this is the debut album from Mr. Mohammed, and he's a very talented and capable saxophonist, which by listening to the album you're going to get a really good insight as to his true level, which is really quite high. This is an absolutely beautiful example of spiritual stroke deep jazz, and I was thoroughly entertained by it. It's filled with, this album's filled with delightful and intriguing compositions, which are played with panache and dexterity. This is high level jazz. be under no illusion. This is real good. Just because you may not have heard of the gentleman before, don't let that put you off. There are gems to be found on this particular album, rest assured of that. In general terms, if you are into spiritual jazz or you're just curious about it, for me at least, this album is certainly worthy of your consideration. I could wax lyrical for like half an hour about this album, but I just would say to you, if you like music, if you like jazz, if you like spiritual jazz, this is going to tick so many boxes. It's just unbelievable in parts. It was just super entertaining. So I really want you guys out there to have a listen to it, and just to see if you agree or disagree with me. And if you do agree, please try and get this sooner rather than later to add to your collection, because I think it should be in most people's collections. And if you've already got this, why didn't you tell me about this album beforehand? You could have given me the heads up, because this is just outstanding. So seeing as I'm going to chastise you for already having it and not telling me, I'm going to take full credit for those who have never seen this album before, or I'm showing it to you now, so that yes, you can jump on the bandwagon. And I want you to have cool jazz in your collection. I'm coming from a good place with it. So the tracks that I would recommend from this album would be Sun, Moon and Stars, a track called Deep Stream, and finally East Wind. Yeah, those are 3 really good tracks on this, and it's just, those are merely a taster of what's good on here. There's other gems to be found, which I'll leave it to you to discover on your own. The notables on this particular album are Dolores Pierce on vocal, Paul Nagel on piano, Christopher Amberger on bass, and finally Daniel Sabanovich on drums, all of which their contributions made this album absolutely stunning. I'd rather not talk about it. I just want you to listen to it and see what you think. And please let me know in the comment section how you found this particular album. But I'm really happy to have it in my collection. It's going nowhere. I love it. So that's today's first album. Today's second album, right? This this is going to need some kind of all right, let's just go for it. It's a 1973 release, and it's by a gentleman called Arman Ratip, and the album's entitled "The Spy from Istanbul." So yeah, I I I don't know what to make of this cover because I don't know what's going on here. Quite frankly, I couldn't decipher what it is. So if you know what this image is of, please drop it in the comment section. I know there's some of you out there who just know every minutiae of art and album covers. So if you do know, let me know because I haven't got a clue what's going on here. Yes, so this album here is a crazy slice of avant-garde jazz. Um, it's yeah, it's not for everyone. But yeah, I'm going to tell you about my adventure with this particular album. This album was conceived originally as an imaginary soundtrack to a book that Turkish pianist Mr. Ratip was planning on writing at some stage. I don't think he ever got around to it, but he left behind this album as a testament to the actual idea, and I'm truly thankful that he's actually done that. Now, apparently as well, and I didn't know this, that this is considered in the top 10 of all-time British jazz albums. Now, I've listened to this a few times, and I'm not sure where they're getting that from. It's good, it's very good, but all-time top 10 jazz British jazz album? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Although this is a fantastic LP, I have to admit that it was initially difficult to listen to. It's yeah, you need to put some work in. There's no doubts about it. There was perhaps too much going on in terms of the individual tracks, but you're going to discover that for yourself when you have a listen to it. Okay. To do yourself a favor, I would just say confine your listening, at least initially, just to the Spy from Istanbul suite. Just listen to that a few times, and if you from there, if you want to listen to the rest of the material, go for it. But I would say just try and there's a lot going on, so I would say just take on the suite initially and see what you think from there. I had to listen to this album quite a few times to get my head round what was going on. Now, that might frighten many of you out there, and I would say don't let me do the work for you. And it's really rewarding once you get your head round what's going on, but you have to put effort in, as in active listening. And when you do, when it all does click in, you go, oh my goodness, that's something else. And that's what I really find rewarding about this album, that once you get your head round what's going on and it finally clicks, you appreciate this album on a completely different level. You can't rush this album. With other material, you can be doing other things and be listening to it partially and get your enjoyment that way. With this one, I would strongly suggest, and I'm going to underline this 2 or 3 times, if you are listening to it, remove any distraction. Don't be. I normally listen to my albums while I'm watching something else. I'd be listening, but I'd be watching, say, like highlights from American football or skiing or something or motor racing. I'll be doing something else, and I can quite happily listen and pay attention. This one, I couldn't do that. I had to shut off all other distractions and basically shut my eyes while listening to the Man from Istanbul suite. That's how much effort you have to put in order to understand what's going on there. But that's how it worked for me, and that's how finally I had the rewarding experience of really thinking about what I was listening to and going, right, that's really cool. Yeah, so give it a whirl, see what you think. As I said, I would pretty much confine my listening to the Man from Istanbul suite. Notables on this album are Harry Miller on bass, Mare or Ma Charig on trumpet, and Keith Bailey on drums, all of whom do a magnificent job on this particular album. So please have a look out for it in terms of giving it a listen. It's hard work, I'm not going to lie to you, but I think, hey, you got to have things in your collection which, are there to expand your knowledge, your mind as to what can be done. And this one certainly does that. So bravo in that particular respect. Yeah, it's a brave affair, and I'm glad that I've got it in my collection. Now, the third and final album today is a 1974 release by a band called Sphere, and the album is entitled Inside Ourselves. There you go. I quite like that album cover. Look, it's a group shot. Just dudes hanging. Yeah, nice little waistcoat going on there as well. Yeah, I like that. Oh, I should show you the inner sleeve. Well, the inside gatefold. Yeah, something to admire there. Goodness, this album is terrific. It's a masterclass in musicianship, in my humble opinion. I don't say this too often, but this is an album which is part of a very small collection. Part of a very small collection of albums in my greater collection, which I judge all other albums by. This is a standard bearer. This is how good this particular album is. I had seen it around for a while and never pulled the trigger because I hadn't heard it. And as soon as I did hear it, I just said to myself, how silly you've been. You should have this in your collection. And yeah, I wasn't going to take no for an answer. This album straddles an incredibly thin line of seemingly simple, yet is in fact extremely complicated at one in the same moment. I always love it when musicians can pull off that trick, and I admire it, I respect it, and this album is a very good example of it. But yes, as with all jazz albums, but with this one in particular as well, how much enjoyment and how rewarding it is for you is solely dependent on you. How much you're willing to listen to the subtleties of what's actually going on in the compositions. The more effort you put into it, the more rewarding the experience will be. And I'm sorry to sound like a teacher, because I don't really want to sound like that. But yes, if you want to get the best out of this album, you've really got to take the time and effort to listen to what's actually going on. The tracks that I would recommend from this album are as follows. The title track, Inside Ourselves. There's a track called Aware. And thirdly, a track called Unknown Track 2. I think those are three great examples of the material on this album. And for me, this was a complete no-brainer once I'd heard a sample of it. So yeah, do yourself a favor, have a listen. I'm not sure how available it is on vinyl. Certainly on CD you should be able to find it, but vinyl, I have a sneaking suspicion that if you can find it, that the price has increased somewhat. Notables on this album are Larry Nazaro on sax, who does a beautiful job on this one, and on piano duties it's a gentleman called Keith Vreeland, who again, oh gosh, he knows how to tickle those ivories. Yeah, did a really nice job, the pair of them. So strong recommendation from me. That's today's final album. I'd like to thank you once again for spending some time with me and listening to my musings on 3 albums that I've taken out of my jazz collection. Please do have a listen, and I do hope that you will come to enjoy these albums as much as I have. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing, and possibly commenting down below. Your comments are always welcome. Please look after yourselves over this festive season. Stay safe, and I will see you for the next episode shortly. So until then, take care of yourselves, okay? Bye bye.